everyone, my name is Jenna, but you guys can call me Jen, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my auto-buy authors. Now, this was harder than I realized to put together because I found that I really want to call a lot of authors auto-buy authors, but I don't own all of their books. So does that disqualify them from being an auto-buy author? I don't know, you guys let me know, but I'll talk about those as we get into this video. But I do have a few that have quickly cemented themselves in like the moment of like auto-buy. Number one, I gotta mention this, and that is my girl Hannah Long, H.M. Long's books. She has written Hall of Smoke and Temple of No God, which is on my shelves on this side, and she is currently I think she's working on Hall of Smoke number 4 because Hall of Smoke number 3 is coming out in January 2023, and she's got so many other things on the go, some of which she has mentioned to me, and I'm just amped for every single thing that she does because not only is she an incredible human being, her work is just fabulous. Both of her books are 5 stars for me, and I just cannot wait for the rest of them to be 5 stars as well, because there's just something about them. Whether it's the world building, whether it's just the exceptional pace that these go on, and it just is so well plotted and thought out, and the stories are just so good. I don't know what it is, all of them fabulous. Cannot wait for what else she comes out with, and whatever else she comes out with, immediate auto-buy. Immediate. So she is the definition of an auto-buy author for me because there's nowhere else in this world that I would rather be than in a H.M. Long book. On that same vein, with another author that only has 2 books out, is Erin Morgenstern, who wrote my favorite book of all time, The Starless Sea. Now, Erin Morgenstern is currently writing a book. I saw that on her Twitter, and I got emotionally just instantly distraught and so excited because I cannot wait to see what she comes out with next. Now, not both of her books for me aren't 5 stars. I didn't quite like The Night Circus as much as I liked this one, but both of them are just exceptional masterpieces in what they are trying to do. And Erin Morgenstern's writing is just absolutely beautiful. And The Starless Sea, as I said, favorite book of all time. So, of course Erin Morgenstern's going to be an auto-buy author for me, so you damn well know, as soon as she releases that new book, I am going to be grabbing it so fast. I don't even care what it's about. I'm going to be reading it because it's Erin Morgenstern, and her craft of stories is just exceptional. This is just going to be me gushing about authors in this video, so get ready. But yes, definitely Erin Morgenstern as well. Now we get into the vein of authors that I don't own their entire works. So these are auto-buy authors, but I don't own their entire works yet. First one though, I have the next one that I'm going to talk about. I have read all of her available published works. I just don't own them all. I own 3 of her books. One here, one behind this one, and this one here. And that is Becky Chambers. Becky Chambers, what a lady. What a lady. She's just, her space books are just everything. I should have held up Psalm. I don't know what I'm doing, but it's like currently holding up the rest of the books from falling. So Psalm is, I believe, my favorite book from her, but The Galaxy and the Ground Within by Becky Chambers is my favorite of hers from her Wayfarer series. And kind of like Erin Morgenstern, I don't love all of her books. I've rated her books everywhere from like a 3.5 to a 5 star. So like she's not a 5-star author for me, but she's definitely an auto-buy author for me because I want to read everything she puts out. Her outlook on humanity and the interpersonal relationships between people, even when you have no humans at all and just aliens like you have in here, is just exceptional. These are space operatic books with such an internal, delicate human touch that I love them and the feeling that these books give me. These are some of the only books I've ever been able to read knowing that a chapter isn't going to go wrong at the end of it or a scene is going to blow up. Like, I can just enjoy a scene where 2 people go on a lovely romantic flight on a spaceship without worrying that it's gonna blow up at the end or someone's gonna die or someone's gonna like come on the ship and invade. Like, it is just soft and lovely and slice of life, and I love that. I love that about Becky Chambers, and that is why I will always buy her new stuff as it comes out, and why I'm trying to collect all of the work that I've read of hers that I don't own. Another one that is quickly becoming an auto-buy author for me because she's becoming a favorite author of mine, and that is Tasha Shiri, who wrote The Jasmine Throne. I've read 2 of Tasha Shiri's books. I have not read the 3rd one that she has out yet, but I'm so excited to. And I'm so excited to read the sequel to The Jasmine Throne when it comes out, and her YA retelling of the Wuthering Heights story, which is also coming out this year. So Tasha Shiri, she knows what's up. I think with her specifically, it is the way she crafts relationships in her books, and just the I don't even know how to explain it. Just how she slowly revolves with these characters and the just intricacies that they have with each other. That also reflects quite a bit in her world building as well. There's a lot of similarities between the way that she crafts characters and their relationships with each other and the way that she crafts her world and how like the characters in the world interact as well. I just love it. And this book was like one of my favorites, if not my favorite of 2021. Like it was just fantastic. No, it wasn't my favorite. Psalm was my favorite, but it was up there in that list, and I loved it so much. So Tasha Shiri is becoming a very, very, very auto-buy author for me. I will buy whatever she puts out. In that same vein, we got my boy, John Gwynne. Again, I don't own all of his stuff, but I own the entire Faithful in the Fallen series, which I have just finished Malice, and I'm currently reading Valor. And I have Shadow of the Gods, and I have the sequel to Shadow of the Gods, Hunger of the Gods, which came out like last week for me. Because the way that John Gwynne writes his fantasy novels is the exact kind of fantasy novel that I want to be in, that I want to write, and that I want to just read all the time. And I'm so excited that I have the ability to read and write in a world where John Gwynne exists. And I love it. I think Shadow of the Gods is my favorite of what he's released so far and what I've read so far. As I said, I've only read 2 of his books, and he has a big backlist to go with. But this is the kind of guy, like this author, as soon as I finished this book, I went out and I bought the box set of The Faithful and the Fallen, which I've never done. Usually I would go out and buy like the first book of the next series he's got, but I have so much faith in John Gwynne's ability to hook me in these epic fantasies and hurt me and make me love these characters unparalleled. Like I'm so in with John Gwynne. I'm just, and that rhymed and I didn't mean it to, but yes. So John Gwynne, auto-buy author. Another one. K.S. Calypso, which does count a little bit more because I have a lot of her self-published works on my like Kindle app because they're self-published works, but I do one day want to own them all physically in paperback because that's just how I prefer to read. But I love her work. The way you guys remember, if you were around on my channel last year when I read this book for the first time, I couldn't shut up about it. Like it was that good. And I still can't believe I haven't finished this friggin' trilogy. I have the 3rd one on my shelves and I have not yet read it. And it's like, it bothers me every day when I see the book. I go, oh yeah, I gotta read that. And I think it's because Audible hasn't put out the audiobook for it, because the audiobook for the 1st and 2nd are there, but like there's just no audiobook for the 3rd, which I'm like, Audible, why would you do that to me? That's a whole other conversation. K.S. Veloso is an auto-buy because again, it goes back to the world building. I am just, you guys know how much I love world building and stories. Like world building has to be it for me to really fall into a world and to really love the story that's being told there. The characters, of course, have to be fleshed out and whatever, but for me, top number 1 is world building, which I know sets me apart. But that's what I love most about fantasy worlds is how unique they are, what the magic systems do, what are the rules? Tell me. This world feels so real and lived in. And that's what I love about a good fantasy book is when you can walk into this fantasy world and it feels real. Like to me, it feels like a D&D campaign that I'm literally going through as a character myself. And I think it's because K.S. Veloso has been writing in this world for like 15 years on her own, in her own D&D campaigns and her own stories and other things that she's published as well. But this book was like the reflection of all that, all those 15 years of working in a world. And she handed it to us with just a glint in her eye at how much, and she just knew how much we were going to fall in love with it. And I love it. Also, She's created some of my favorite characters of all time in here with Kine or Kine. I don't know how you say it. I say Kine. I know it's wrong, but Kine and Queen Tal. Queen Tal is not necessarily a likable character. Kine, 1000% would marry that man. He is fantastic. But I don't know what it is about the relationships and the characters that K.S. Veloso has built in here. They're just exceptional. Exceptional on every page. But yeah, it always comes back to world building and characters with me. But yeah, definitely K.S. Veloso. I check out everything that she's got, which is why I have a lot of her books on Kindle and everything, because I'm so amped about every single story in this world and I need to actually read them. Let's talk about my other man, my main man, Brando Sando. Again, I've only read a few of his books that he's ever written. I've read the first Skyward book. I've read this one. I've read all of Mistborn Era #1. And every single one of his books is just a banger. He has a grasp on epic fantasy like none other. Like, I would compare this to Robert Jordan level, but better, you know? Like, again, it comes back to world building, but he creates such epic stories, and no matter what this man comes out with, I will buy. Even though I don't own his entire collection, I only own this small little section here on my shelves, I will buy it. I backed his Kickstarter with the ebooks because I'm in Canada and the shipping was, for any of the physical books, was the same price as the book, so I couldn't justify a big purchase like that. But I am so excited to read anything that he puts out. I love the way he crafts stories, and I don't know what it is. Like, I know his stuff can be terrifying because this is like 1,000 pages long and it's the first of an epic fantasy series, so it's gonna be like numerous books long. I think he's working on Stormlight 5 now, so who knows how long Stormlight's gonna go on for, but I'm in. I'm committed. This relationship with Brandon Sanderson is a commitment, and I'm committed, you know? So he's definitely an auto-buy author. I guess in that same vein with like someone who has a huge backlist, I would say V.E. Schwab as well is an auto-buy author. Again, I don't own all of her books, but I own a number of them, and I really liked to loved most of them. Addie LaRue was my favorite of her books, and I have Gallant waiting for me over there to read on my TBR. So anything that she comes out with, I'm going to buy. Like, when she releases her Shades of Magic stuff, I will buy. Her next like era in Shades of Magic, 100% will buy, because I enjoyed Shades of Magic when I read it. I need to pick up the second book in the Vicious duology because, no, it's a trilogy now. I need to pick up the second book because I really enjoyed the first one. Like, there's something to say about V.E. Schwab's writing, and I think you have to be a very specific kind of reader to really enjoy it. You have to love the metaphorical and the twisty, flowery language. Otherwise, you're not going to get on with her stuff. And I totally understand that. Same with Erin Morgenstern. You have to love the flowery language and the twisty, inside-out metaphorical storytelling that she's doing to be able, you know, to really love her books. But that's just what it is. I love the way V.E. Schwab crafts and tells a story. I don't know what it is. From across all her books, I love the way her prose flows for me, and I think that's really why. I also really like her as a person. So, and that leads me to my last one on this list, because I never would have thought I would have had a YA specific author on this list. And that is Victoria Aveyard, specifically because of Realmbreaker and because of who she is. I follow her on socials, and I followed her even before I had read any of her books. And I've only read one of her Red Queen books, but I am determined to read them all eventually, just because I want to see how she crafts a like series as a whole. But I mainly am in it for her epic fantasy stuff like this, because homegirl loves Lord of the Rings, and it was reflected in her stories, so much so. This book is my favorite YA book of all time now. It's edged out Legendborn and Strange the Dreamer. Like, this is my favorite. It just is, because of the way that Victoria Aveyard crafts her worlds and her stories, and she's using just this beautiful language and easy to follow prose that sometimes when you're reading epic fantasy is hard to find. Like if you're reading a Brandon Sanderson or a Robert Jordan or a J.R.R. Tolkien even, the prose sometimes is really hard to follow, but Victoria does it in a way that is just so delectable and just so good to consume and just, yes. Yes. 100%. I would pick up anything she has written and will write because I'm in. I also really love her as a person. And I think that's what really hooked me on her stories is her. I don't know what it is, but sometimes when you follow your authors on Instagram and socials, they make you more excited for their work than the work itself, you know? It's the person behind it. And I think that's what it is for me for Victoria and for Victoria. The two Victorias in my life. I think that's what it is. Most of the other ones I don't follow on socials or like they aren't very active on socials, except for Hannah Long and Tasha Shiri. They're pretty active on socials and I'm like friends with Hannah. So all across this list, the people are pretty cool too. Every single one of my auto-buy authors are auto-buy authors for a different reason, which is really cool. Like just kind of sitting here and talking through each of these books, I think it's making me realize how much I really love certain elements of storytelling and how much they mean to me in storytelling. And that's exceptional. That's why I do this, you know? That's why I talk about books is because I just love them so damn much. And I just, I'm gonna do the thing that I do sometimes in my favorites videos at the end of the year and I'm just gonna hug my books because that's what I wanna do right now. But anyways, my lovely friends, thank you so much for hanging out with me while I gush about auto-buy authors. Let me know down below what some of yours are, or if some of yours are on my list because I'd love to know. And I'm always looking for more people to read from. So, all right, my friends, thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in another video very soon. Stay kind and keep on reading.